entrepreneurs, welcome to a new edition of Diasporas In Business. I'm Gabriela Dragomir, CEO and founder of Brainstorm Strategy, and today my special guest is Vanessa Ugatti. Welcome, Vanessa, to our talk show Diasporas In Business.
Thank you very much for having me, Gabriela. It's lovely to be here.
I wish you a happy new year. A new year with a great balance between health, wealth, work, and happiness.
And of course, that's what I'm all about.
Yes.
Helping clients have that balance.
That is true. You choose to help people from low corporation or low society and accountancy people to grow them revenue. Why this zone? Why this the law society? Because we are in the law society.
We are in the law society. Why lawyers and accountants, you're asking me? I guess I could say why not? Mm-hmm. And I think the reason why that happened is twofold. First of all, when I was out networking a long time ago, who turns up at networking events? Lawyers and accountants, often in abundance. And so I was connecting with those people. And secondly, for some bizarre reason, I think that I work well with those sorts of people, even though I'm not a lawyer or an accountant. It just seems to be that I get on with people of that nature, so all those sorts of professions.
You do coaching with great people. Well done, congratulations. Who is Vanessa beyond this my presentation?
Oh, that's a good question, isn't it? Whew. That's not an easy question to answer, because which part of me do you want to know about?
I'll let you to choose.
So I am a person who is probably a very deep thinker, and I always have been very deep. But on the other side, to counteract that, I think I'm quite fun as well, and maybe slightly odd or eccentric or unusual. Because perhaps I don't see things like other people do. For example, I think age is irrelevant. I don't think age has got anything to do with anything. And I think attitude is what really, really counts. So I know other people of my age will say, well, when you get to our age, you have to expect that you'll get lots of aches and pains and so on and so forth. And inside I say to myself, really? I don't plan on doing that, or if I have, then let's get it sorted.
That means we live our life on other people's stereotypes?
Yes, well, no, I don't. I don't live my life on other people's terms.
When you say about age, your age, you think who said to you this point, they live in stereotypes?
I guess they probably do, but I think a lot of people do get to a certain age and they think, well, now I'm going to deteriorate or what have you. So I think the inside of me is a very strong person, and for a long time I didn't think I was. I thought I was very weak because I'm very sensitive soul. But now I realise that I am very, very strong, because I say, no, that's rubbish. So, for example, at the beginning of the year, for the first time in my life, I took on a personal trainer, because I recognised, yes, I was going to the gym and I was doing classes and exercising, but I recognised I did have some of these aches and pains, lower back and weaknesses in my body. And I found somebody just by chance, and I thought, actually, there feels like there's a connection here. I'm going to say to him, okay, can we work together? I didn't even know what my goal was. And so he asked me, well, what's your goal? And I said, well, you know, I've got all these aches and pains and lower back and what have you, and I want to get stronger. And so we've been doing exercise together now for the last year. In fact, I have one session with him a week, but then I do his homework, I call it my homework, and then I go to classes as well. And in that time, I've seen my ability now to do things I couldn't do a year ago, thus proving that what people say about getting older is completely rubbish. It's about what you do and how you think that counts. And now I can drive for hours in the car without stopping, get out and not say, oh, which is what I would do before, or I couldn't drive for that long.
Healthy body, healthy mind.
Yeah. So actually, I like to challenge myself in doing things that I think I can't do, or that the mind will say to me, oh, you can't do that. My PT is really good for me because he reflects back where I've got blocks, where I'm saying, oh no, that's too heavy for me. And we've just had a review only a week ago on how I've done. He thinks I've done amazingly, but I want to continue on and find a challenge to do this year, which might be 3 peaks or something like that, but I haven't actually decided yet.
You mentioned goals, and we are in January 2020. Talking about your goals for this year. They are?
So my goals are to really drive my business forward, to get my level of fitness at the level I would like it to be, to continue to work on my Spanish, which is something I did many years ago and I've been working on, to spend more time in somewhere like Gran Canaria where it's warmer, where I can use my languages, and possibly even to find Mr. Right, because it's never too late to do that either.
What are your core values?
My core values are, I'm very honest, so being genuine, being real, being authentic is really, really important to me. I guess that's probably the most important thing. I don't like people who who say one thing and do something else. Mm-hmm. So I might be very, very honest, and maybe some people might find that too much, but I actually prefer to say what I mean and then do what I say rather than say one thing and do something else. So I guess that's probably my core values.
To be authentic is something very hard to keep on. And how you manage to build your business path and to be in sometimes authentic, because around us are many other people who try things, try shortcuts, and how we can be authentic in this world.
How can we be authentic? I just don't know another way of being. Perhaps I don't fit in very well into the world because I don't know how to manipulate. It's not something... In fact, my younger sister, used to tell me off when I was a child, when we were both young, because she'd say, well, why did you have to tell mummy and daddy so-and-so? And I'd say, because that's the truth. Whereas she would be able to just tell them what they wanted to hear, mm-hmm. and then go and do her own thing. So she actually was better seen than I was, and yet I was the one who was being authentic. So maybe being authentic isn't the easiest way to be, but then I can sleep at night because I know that I'm being me. And actually, I think we need more people to be in the world and be themselves and not be some kind of thing that they think other people want them to be or need them to be. And I think fear drives all of us as human beings. And so it's easy to want to fit in and do what everybody else is doing so you do fit in, because that's the sort of tribal mentality. But if everybody in the entire history of humanity had always done that, we would have made absolutely no progress. Mm-hmm. So in life, I think you have to decide either to be a sheep and follow the herd, or to be a shepherd and lead the way or speak your truth, because when people speak truth, actually, eventually enough people will think that makes sense and they will follow. So I can't see a reason to want to be anything other than being yourself. But being yourself isn't easy also because what is yourself?
Especially when you build a business from the scratch.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but you have to, in my opinion, you have to follow your heart. And if you follow the monkey mind, then the monkey mind will lead you astray. And the monkey mind can be all those things that people tell you that you have to do or are right and aren't necessarily right for you. So I think it's important to listen to what other people are saying and then step back and say, is that right for me? Mm-hmm. Or is something else right for me? And not necessarily do what everybody is doing.
What drives you to keep you going in your business with this great coaching zone?
I guess what drives me is the fact that I believe I was born to bring this to the world. It might sound a bit corny, but I actually believe it's my purpose in being here. It's been a long journey. It's been a journey for me to go through to understand my value, to be able to then share that with other people. So it's a sort of vocation, really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's a bit like saying, why does somebody become a doctor or a nurse or something else outside of the medical profession? They do it because their heart's driving them to do it. And it doesn't mean it's easy, but then let's be honest, life is not easy. It doesn't matter who you are, life is not easy. And I believe we are meant to have challenges, because it's when we have the challenges that we discover who we really are.
And sometimes we don't like what we see there inside, and we need to work on our values, real values, because many times we make confusion between our proper values and family values, society values, and that makes some difficult times for us, especially in business. You mentioned about passion, about to be born. You discovered this passion early in your life or later?
No, I didn't. I think I've always been a passionate person, but I didn't know about what this aspect of the work I was going to be doing at all until much later on in life. And it's already born out of the fact that I didn't have good feelings about myself. My self-worth was very, very low. Mm-hmm. And it's taken a long time to understand and go through that myself, to understand what self-worth is, and how it's got nothing to do with one's ability, one's intelligence, intellectual ability, or anything of that nature. It's just to do with the way you think and how you've learnt to think as you're a child and then growing up. And so, at the heart of this work that I do, helping people charge what they're worth, that's just really the superficial level, because behind that, it's actually helping people understand their value and their self-worth and build on their self-worth, so they're able to stand up in the world, know who they are, be able to say, this is me and I can do this and I'm confident doing this, without sounding arrogant and full of themselves, because I think arrogance is a different thing. Yes. I think arrogance actually is a lack of self-worth.
Yes, that is true.
Rather than somebody who's very confident. So, and really know who they are and that they have the ability, and be able to help people, but not at the cost to themselves. If that makes sense.
Yes, make great sense. You help your clients to grow them revenue. Why this zone? Why financial? Why not another part of our structure, like mentality? Why revenue?
I guess it just was what came to me, and maybe it's I can't really explain why. Maybe it just seemed, when I was talking about value and worth, that from a business perspective, what's the first thing that people are thinking of? I need to make more revenue. But it was never the whole thing for me, and it never has been the whole thing. And actually, when I work with clients, it's never just about the money. It's about them as an individual, how they think and how they operate. It started off as that, but behind the scenes there was always this other part.
The way they operate, they make to grow or not the revenue, because the modality you develop yourself, and you keep your self-esteem high, you grow, and your revenue
you will. That's one of the benefits. That you will grow your revenue as well. But the other benefits to me are feeling good about yourself, and then being able to show up in the world in that way means that you are really helping everybody else around you. So whether it's a husband or a wife or your children, how you feel about yourself, and therefore how you behave, will impact positively or negatively all those people around you. And so what I'm looking at doing is working with people more than just on the money, but on their work-life balance, their well-being, how they manage their clients. Because when people are not charging effectively, in effect what it means is that they are not in charge. The monkey mind is in charge.
Yeah.
And it's about pulling people out of the monkey mind into...
You don't deserve to increase your your price for your service,
Yes.
The monkey minds.
And the clients dictating to the provider rather than the provider deciding how he or she wants to operate. And I know with my own journey where I was and where I am now is a very, 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 very different place. And it really is, yes, of course there's process involved because people need the tools to understand how you communicate these things to their clients, of course. But it's no good having processes if you don't have the matching mindset to go with it. That's just so important.
Vanessa, tell me more about your book.
So
it's a great one.
It's
lots of tips and good advice for everyone.
It's quite a simple book, and when I first created this niche of charging what you're worth, I didn't know that's what I was going to be creating. So I was already helping professionals with mindset, with helping them with their mindset, but just very generically, not specifically lawyers or not specifically on charging or running the business. It was just generally on mindset. But my unconscious mind was saying there's something else, and there was something niggling, but I honestly didn't know what it was. And that's quite frustrating when that's going on. But our job is to pay attention to that voice that's trying to give us information. And then quite by chance, although I believe in the universe, so I don't believe there's chance, I believe that we're transmitting messages out there to the universe and that it responds to us. But often the messages we're transmitting are unconscious rather than conscious ones. So a marketing program specifically for coaches appeared in my experience, and I thought, it said, you're a coach, you need to have a niche. And I thought, okay, I've heard about niching, I don't know how to do it, and I don't know what my niche is. And I feel very scared looking at this. But I investigated it and I decided after 3 months of procrastination that I'd sign up for that program. And on one of the first workshops, they asked us a question in the group, or more than one question maybe, I can't remember the questions now. And I wrote some answers down, and the subject of value or worth appeared on the piece of paper. And I had no idea how it had got there. So I thought, well, that's interesting. And one of the trainers there said, well, that's marketable. That I'd put more than one thing down, that's marketable. And I thought, okay, you're the marketing experts, I'm going to take a leap of faith. I do lots of leaps of faith, I should say, in my life, and I have over the years, because that's been when I've actually followed my heart, scary as it may be, and it's always worked to do that, even though I felt scared. So I said, okay, you know what you're talking about. So off I went networking again, and who did I see again? Lawyers and accountants. And so I found out quite quickly that undercharging, discounting and over-servicing were really commonplace problems amongst people who were professionals and experienced professionals. So I thought, that's interesting. That's a good bit of feedback for me and seems to be saying yes, so great. So then I came back and I started looking at clients I'd worked with in the past and current clients, and I thought, actually, I've already helped some people on this subject of charging. How weird, I hadn't even realised it. Because we don't always know consciously what we're doing, because we're doing so many things unconsciously. And then I decided to shine the spotlight on myself. Oh God, that was just horrible. Because at that point I realised that I was completely and utterly clueless when it came to charging. Hopeless. And that's not an exaggeration, Gabriela. It really is the truth. I was awful. But the great thing was I'd done that. Yes, it was painful, and I realised I was awful. And at that moment, it was like a light bulb moment. I realised exactly why that subject had been brought forward from my unconscious mind, because the unconscious mind knows everything. Mm-hmm. And I said, yes, it's done it because it knows I need to sort this problem out. And I'm going to share with you how I used to run a sales meeting.
Please. I will really enjoy to hear that.
Oh God, it's a joke. It is so embarrassing. But I put myself on the spot and say this is how I was, because it shows the journey of where I was to where I am. So somehow or another I'd find a prospect and I'd have a meeting with them. I was so driven to just help people. That's my driving force. And it was completely that, out of balance, completely. I want to help people. So they'd tell me what's going on for them, and then I'd be trying to give them all the answers there in this so-called prospect meeting, because I didn't have the knowledge of how to run such a meeting. I hadn't come from that sort of background. So, but I was always aware of the fact that I was going to have to talk about money at some point, and I was dreading it. It was like creeping death.
You've been afraid.
Really scared of the thought of talking about money. Had no understanding of any value that I had, and was pretty clueless all round. And so I'd be putting off, so the meetings would be going on longer, and I'd be giving loads of value, but I would be putting off talking about money because of such fear. And I'm sure some people can relate to this who might be hearing this. And then eventually I would get to that point, summon up the courage and say some paltry, miserable hourly rate, and then carry on talking because I was scared of being rejected, and probably blush as well, because I've always had the sort of skin that reddens very easily. So that was how I operated. So you can imagine it was really painful, really uncomfortable. But as an empath, as a very sensitive person, I didn't even know about empaths then. We're talking about maybe 10 years ago, or a bit less than that even. I didn't know about empaths. I didn't know that's what I was. But empaths are very sensitive. So they tend to feel things at a heightened level more than the average person out there. So when I'm experiencing this, it was really, really uncomfortable, really embarrassing. I'd get really hot and red and very, very uncomfortable. So that, I can't even remember what the question was, but that was how it was for me until I overcame this problem.
I believe the relation with money, and especially with money and our value of our product, it's a big problem for many of us, because especially when you are in startup, you want you want people to see you, to see your products, and you don't put value on the best price for your product. How you encourage new business people to put the best price on their products?
So it's the same as for everybody else. Of course, it can be more challenging for startups, as you say, because they just want to get business. But you've still got to say, okay, what's your mindset? What is your value? What's the value of your... I work in services rather than products. Mm-hmm. What is the value of your service? And where are you in your head? Because if your head is saying, I just need to get business, I just need to get orders or something like that, you're in the wrong mindset, because that's a mindset of desperation. Mm-hmm. And when one is in desperation, what will they do? Slash prices. You think it's all about price. Mm-hmm. It's never just about price. Yes, I admit there are some people out in the world who are just looking for the cheapest whatever it is. Do you really want those sorts of clients? I don't. I know I don't. Mm-hmm. If you're a startup, you probably think they're okay to have. But I would say for startups, start as you mean to go on. Because if you start in a place of desperation and I've got to get clients and I'll take anybody on, mm-hmm. even if they want to beat me down and to the lowest possible price, so I don't really make a profit anyway and I feel resentful and miserable, don't do that. I do say things as they are. I said I'm very honest. That's the truth, because the problem is I've worked with people in the past who are not startups, but they were been in business some years, mm-hmm. and they were still trying to catch up on their pricing because of starting in the wrong way. So I think before you start up, get some real advice on how to set up your business. Be really sure about what your market is. I didn't do any of this, by the way, so I'm not the person to help you with this either. You need to find somebody who's a marketing person, who understands what sort of business you're going into. Is there a market for it? I didn't do anything like that. I did everything back to front. That's fine. You can learn from my mistakes and say, do it properly to start with, because you'll save yourself a lot of not only money, but time and potentially pain and heartache by starting the right way. But still, it's not easy, because lots of people start businesses and they fail, and that's a fact. We can't escape that.
What was your biggest aha in your business life? The biggest moment when you say, aha, this is the way where I need to go.
I think one of the ahas was the light bulb when I realised why this niche had come forward. And then the second aha, in a way, was how the formula appeared in my mind when I was in bed, half asleep. And when I perceived it, I thought, wow, this actually is correct. And so I guess that was the real starting point for me. And I'm sure there's been aha moments along the way, but to remember them all would be quite difficult. So I don't think there's just one.
When we talk about what is non-negotiable for Vanessa Ugatti,
what's non-negotiable
for you?
I'm going to put it in the positive. Are we talking about clients, or are we talking about who I work with?
Business life. What is?
Well, it's back to the values thing again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only actually interested in working with good people who deserve to be charging what they're worth. So I wouldn't work with somebody who I thought was not doing a good job for clients and wanted to rip them off. Mm. That's non-negotiable for me. But I think because of my nature, I tend to attract a certain type of person who isn't like that, who is the sort of person who genuinely does care about their clients and doesn't care about themselves enough. And so it's my job to help them see why they need to care about themselves. So
in my back home in my country, we have a kind of word: you attract what you are.
Yes.
You are positive. You are a great person. You know very well your values. You attract people who have similar values like yours.
Yes, and sometimes I think I also attract people who have the problems that I had, because that's probably still somewhere in my energy. So, but they tend to be, the people I tend to work with coaching wise have got very similar characteristics, which are really good at what they do and very conscientious, and I like this, people pleasers, perfectionists, and they tend to be quite sensitive. And it doesn't matter whether that's lawyers or accountants or other types of professionals, they tend to often have very similar characteristics in their personalities.
What are your gaps between your knowledge and your experience? Sometimes people, they don't start a business because they think, I know everything in my zone. I have experience enough to do that. How to build something where I don't know everything?
Nobody knows everything. And I think, anybody who starts in business, they will always have gaps. I can't say I know everything now. There's absolutely no way. I don't think I'll ever know everything. So I think it's being willing to develop yourself, get help developing yourself, use third parties wherever you possibly can. So for example, I don't want to sit there doing bookkeeping and number stuff. I want somebody to do that. And right from the very beginning, I took somebody on who would do that. I mean, not an employee, but somebody externally, because I didn't want to put my time into that. So I think, don't think that you're going to do everything on your own and everything yourself and that you have all the knowledge. And don't think because you're good at doing something that you know how to run a business, because you don't, and I've learnt that all the hard way. And I think for this coming year, 2020, the theme that's coming through very strongly seems to be collaboration and teamwork. So collaborating with third parties who offer a similar service to myself, for example, but this applies to everybody, in a similar market, but a different service, so that we can help each other. And so that's what I'm doing more of now, is setting up those collaborations, if you like, with other good people who've got similar values. And I think that's really, really important whenever we're working with anybody, whether it's they're a client or another provider that we're working with, that we have similar values, because otherwise it won't work.
If you had the possibility to have a magic stick, tell me please about 3 things you would like to change.
In the world or in myself?
In yourself first and after.
A magic wand, or a magic stick, as you say. A magic wand. A magic wand. I would have this knowledge 30 years ago and be doing what I'm doing now, but that's not true. I can't, unfortunately, roll back the time. My physical energy would be better, because sometimes I struggle with my energy, even though I don't look like I do, because I always look like I'm really bright, but sometimes I struggle with my energy. That's 2 things. What would the third thing be? That I would already be where I want to be now, but that's just a process again. So, yeah.
And because, when you are in present moment, you all the time you have in your mind, if I had the possibility to meet myself 15 years ago, I will give you this kind of piece of advice. In your shoes, what will be that kind of piece of advice if you have the possibility, the opportunity to meet yourself 15 years, 20 years
wouldn't that be great? When people give you genuinely positive feedback and say good things and compliment you, not people who are just doing it lip service, but genuine, really, really pay attention to it and repeat it to yourself. Because I didn't have good thoughts about myself, and those negative thoughts were keeping that belief going of not being good enough and low self-worth. And just in the last 2 days, I had some amazing feedback from 2 different people about how I present when I'm speaking at conference. And I was like, really? They were saying such good things. And I thought, and you're still saying, really? So really pay attention to it, and then keep repeating it to yourself until you really get, when somebody says to you, you are fantastic at doing so-and-so, you don't do what the typical British thing is, and I know this isn't going out to British people, but I'm sure other nationalities are just as bad, of saying, oh, no, I'm not that good, People don't take on the compliments very easily. We'll take on criticism more. If somebody criticises us, we'll take it in, and then we'll be saying, oh my God, I feel terrible because I've been criticised. But we don't take the compliments, or I don't, and other people don't either. So I would say, when somebody tells you you've done something really well, or when you know yourself you've done something really well, really take time to absorb that and tell it to yourself. Not, as I said earlier on, to go out into the world and say, oh, I'm fantastic, aren't I wonderful, and look at me. But because the inner self needs to hear that, to feel confident, to keep that going. It's like oxygen to the body so is that positive feedback, that positive speak that we can give ourselves is also a requirement for us to shine in the world. And I believe we were born to shine. I don't believe we were born to be miserable and insignificant. All of us, everybody, I think everybody out there will have a talent of some sort. Whether it's come forward yet in their lives or not is another matter. But I don't think that anybody's an idiot.
Great point. Why do you think we have reaction on bad news? Because you talk about good news, nice compliments, and why do you think people have reaction only majority only on bad news, on they hear criticism or something else, they have reaction, and no, when they hear a nice compliment you say that means it's very important to hear that kind of voice.
Okay, so my theory about that is that actually from the moment we're born, we're hearing lots of things, we're absorbing lots of things. And I actually believe, and I don't have numbers or anything, but I actually believe that we tend to get more negative things said than we do positive. Not intentionally to make us feel bad, but as a protection mechanism. So if you think a child is born, a baby is born, it becomes a child. Well, I know you have a 2 and something year old child, 2 years and a few months. They're always doing things that are putting their lives in danger when they're young. So you're probably saying constantly, stop doing this, stop doing that, stop doing the other, danger, danger, danger. And as a parent, you're scared that your child will get hurt. And so from quite a young age, it's hearing no, 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 a lot of the time, negative, negative, negative. And if you realise and understand that we are all hardwired for fear in order that we should survive as a species, therefore, that is what's going on in the reptilian part of the brain. Fear, fear, fear. Everything is fear. You've got to charge this much. Oh, no, no, fear, fear, fear. I can't possibly charge that. Whatever it is, we're going out in the world and that radar is constantly going. So even though nowadays we have, especially we're very lucky in this part of the world, we don't have that many physical dangers that are going to kill us. No woolly mammoths or saber-toothed tigers are likely to come and attack us. But we've created a lot of imaginary fears to replace those real life-threatening fears, and the body reacts in the same way. So the mind says, oh, danger, and it's not a real one, but it still reacts. So the same changes, physiological changes happening in the body, which creates all that extra adrenaline and a sense of nervousness because there's nowhere to run and there's nothing to fight. And so we are programmed to think in that way to protect us. And so we as adults really, or if you're lucky, your parents understand that, or parents understand it when you're young and you grow up with that much more positive approach. You have to then, if you don't have that, get to be an adult and train your mind to understand that actually going to stand on stage and speak to people is not going to kill you and you don't have to be scared. Yeah, it's okay to have a bit of, excitement or energy there for it, but you don't have to be scared, because even if you did do a really bad job, you're not going to die. And it's that monkey mind that is saying you're going to die, really.
Yeah.
That's why public speaking, I chose that, because they say it's the thing that people are more scared of than death. And you just think, well, how can that possibly be? It's ridiculous. But it's irrational. A lot of our fears are irrational. But the experience the experience we're having in the body says that we're in danger. And so we have to, as a conscious, rational adult, look at that feeling and say, is this a genuine fear? No, it's not. This is my monkey mind jumping up and down going, fear, 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 get away, get away. And you can say, there, little monkey mind. Don't worry, I'm fine. I'm an adult here. I can handle this. And I think often there's that the monkey mind is like a child. So the adult that comes in and says, no, it's okay. If it's not actually doing that, the child is then operating as the person. The child is dictating how the person should react and be in their lives. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes.
In a long-winded way.
Yes. I grew up with this monkey mind because my parents they've been afraid don't happen something with them daughter, but my shoes with my daughter is something different, because all the time I say, yes, look, if you do that, that is possible to happen because I pass from that way. But it's your choice to make it in your way. And all the time I say, well done, go forward. We try. And I say more yes than no. If in my heart I say, oh my God, I hope don't happen something, but I say yes because I grow up with this monkey. It's not possible. Everything is possible if you have discipline, if you have direction, if you have goals, if you do your homework very well. Talking about homework, how you market your business?
What's that got to do with homework?
You need to market your business.
I do.
Mean a lot of homework behind the scene when people don't see what Vanessa doing.
Yes. So several ways actually. So through LinkedIn, social media, particularly LinkedIn, I actively use LinkedIn to find clients. Definitely through speaking. Speaking is a very good way of doing it because obviously you're in front of a lot of people, and at the same time, so that brings in leads. Through third parties who, referrals, through things like this, podcasts, articles, chat shows, every possible way that I can think of, really.
Why people should listen to you? Why people should come to you to take your service?
So that's a difficult question to answer because I'm not them, but I think that what I know that I do for the right people will give them the results. So when I talk to people, I am looking for certain things in them to make sure that we're a good fit. So if I don't think I can give them the answers or I can help them with their challenge or we're not gelling well together, then I would point them in another direction because I don't want to work with people that can't or won't, for whatever reason, get the results. Because when you're working with people, it's a two-way process when you're coaching. You can't just wave a magic wand and say all your problems are solved. So there has to be a good resonance between you. So I would say that actually if somebody has challenges and they feel, yes, what Vanessa says makes sense, they have nothing to lose by talking to me because I have a meeting with somebody, there is no cost to that meeting. And between us, we will decide, is this the right way to go or not? And because one of my core values, of course, is honesty and being genuine and authentic, I know whether somebody's right or not. And I would definitely not take somebody on if I thought they weren't right. And what I'm finding now anyway is the sort of people who are coming to me are people who fit well, not just in terms of individuals, but law firms, for example, as well. It's the right people getting drawn, and that's what I'm looking for, is that kind of thing, because I know fairly quickly if they're the right sort of people, and therefore things will work. Because I don't want to do something with somebody and not get a good result. A, that doesn't feel good. There's no pleasure in it. And B, I don't want other people saying, oh, well, I worked with Vanessa and it was just no good. So that's why people should come. And if you don't think you're the right person, that's fine. Go and find somebody who is.
In meantime, you talk so nicely about connection and empathy and work together with find your clients. In my mind, born another question: why, in your business path, you meet some clients and you decide to let them down because it was difficult, or you didn't want to take them because you didn't feel the compatibility between you and them. The question is, you let down your clients in some point. You have that situation.
I don't know that I have recently had that situation. I think maybe in the past I might have taken some people on who weren't really quite a good fit, but I didn't have the same ability to be able to discern perhaps as I do now, or it could have been that maybe I thought, well, you can't turn down a client. But I think that I have actually turned people down, or not turned them down, but said, I don't think that you're quite where you need to be for me to take you on at the moment, because maybe I would know from where they were at in their business that it just wasn't the right time. So it wouldn't even necessarily be that I didn't like them or anything, because I just think I know what is right and what I can do in a certain amount of time and get that person to the right place. And some people need something before that, before I can take them on. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would never do it in a way that was hurtful. But if I was having a conversation with somebody, I'm just thinking, they're just not going to be right. I would find a way of saying it in a nice way, so that they didn't feel bad, and maybe point them in the direction of somebody who could help.
I said that because personally, in my journey over 15 years in business, I meet a lot of clients who try to take to have lots of service from my business with low cost, and this kind of client, and very friendly I say no, because this is our business, and we respect our values and company values.
Yes.
And I wonder if other people meet this kind of people, and how they manage to do that, to say no.
Yeah. Well, I think we just have to. I mean, if somebody wanted to, I've never had this happen of late, wanted me to change my fees to suit them, I'm afraid it would be no, because that is what it is. It is what it is, and I know what my worth is. But at the moment, there's nothing like that going on, so I haven't got that challenge at the moment.
Vanessa, the last question. What is your motivation day by day?
My motivation day by day is to enjoy it, to get pleasure from using the gifts that I've been given, because after all, we've been given gifts, haven't we, that we want to express in the world. And so that's my motivation, is to find more opportunities to be able to express those gifts to people and reap the rewards in return, both in terms of satisfaction and, of course, financially as well.
Thank you so much, Vanessa, for your time, and I wish you the best year on your life.
And I wish you the best too, and I think 2020 is going to be a fabulous year.
I'm sure it will be, definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.